The Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to Matthew. Glory to you, Lord Christ. Jesus said, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light in you is darkness, how great is the darkness? No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money." This is the gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Christ. Please be seated. Except for the two of you who are coming up here with me. I'm going to bring these back a little bit so you don't wind up in the dirt here. All right. Let us make sure that these are working. Testing. Nope. Yes? Testing. Testing? Jesus still loves us. All right.
Not working?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Is this one working?
Yes, that one is working.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice try, Dave. Let me get my cheat sheets. Okay, so we haven't had a discussion sermon lately. We haven't had the usual suspects here. So we have this morning for you some conversation about something about which I know almost nothing, and that is gardening. And so in the spirit of holy contemplation, I don't know, you folks talk about it. You're the gardeners. I get a sense from both of you, and Sue Bushman is not able to be with us today. So Jenny, you're her stunt double, okay?
Okay. That's a very generous thing.
All right. But I do get it, and you're an incredible gardener, both of you are. And I do get senses from both of you that gardening is, and taking care of creation is a really deep part of your spirituality. Just really, really deep. Tell us more about that. Can you? You want to say more?
Do you want to start, Dave?
No,
Well, I've loved being outdoors ever since I was a little kid. And so it started a long time ago before I ever started going to church. And actually, probably my first spiritual text was a book of Greek myths, Greek mythology. And in that Greek mythology, there was the god of Pan, and Pan was the god of nature. And I just really identified with Pan. Also, Wind in the Willows, and all this classic children's literature that is so much about being outdoors and about how the spirit grows through being outdoors. So it doesn't say that in so many words. In children's literature, it does, and it really spoke to me. So I've had that feeling ever since I was a little kid. I believed in fairies. I still do. I think they're real. We just don't see them. And it's just when I'm outside, I'm at one with everything.
First of all, let me say it's really nice to look out on the faces of friends in our parish. And the people I know the most are people I also know share our love of gardening. So I'm one, but any one of you could be up here speaking about it. For me, growing in the land has always been a real part of my heritage. My father grew up in Michigan. And my grandfather was the happiest man in the world when he had 5 acres and a Ford tractor, and he would just plow the fields back and forth and back and forth. My mother grew up in Wisconsin, and we knew the family stories always took us back to the land. My grandmother, who was from Norway, was widowed when she was still carrying a child, and had to find a way to feed her family and care for them. And it was the farm that did it. They rented a farm, they grew crops, and they were able to stay together as a family, and not only to survive, but to thrive. So all my life, in fact, the photographs in our house were often about gardens or the farmhouse, or so we were constantly reminded of the importance of the earth to us. For me, as I've grown up, I've always found it to be a very spiritual experience, especially to be in St. Luke's Gardens. There's a real peace, no matter how much traffic and motorcycles and semis are going by. There's a real sense of peace and calm when I'm out in the gardens.
Thank you. Don't you love hearing from folks? It's like, I never knew that. I never knew that. This is wonderful. Thank you. Well, you both have kind of answered my second question, which was, well, you know, when did you first put gardening and faith together? Maybe you already did sort of answer that, or did you? I don't know. What do you think about that?
So as I grew older and attended Sunday school and church and everything there, I didn't really put faith and nature together until probably middle school, and that's when I started to translate my feeling of being outdoors into understanding that must be what God is, what Jesus is. The love and the peace and the oneness. And then I've done a lot of reading. I'm sure we all have done. We're a church that reads a lot, and the reading that I've done has just reinforced that over the years. You know, you read, oh my gosh, Annie Dillard. You can read, Mary Oliver. You can read so many authors, and they are very much about the outdoors and about nature and its redeeming quality to all of us. And I think we are surrounded by God. We are of God at all times. And being in nature just really reinforces that to me.
And just to add on to what Jane's saying, and I truly believe what she is saying, part of it for me is, as all of us, we go through different phases in our lives and have different experiences and come up to blessings and obstacles. And the gardens, especially St. Luke's Gardens, are a reminder to me of the important people in my life. You look at the dogwoods blooming out front, and I remember Doug Bolden sharing a story about when those were planted. We went in the meditation garden that Keith Meyer designed. It's just beautiful. And one of the remarkable things out there, and next time you're walking by, stop and notice it. There's 2 peony bushes out there that are getting just ready to bloom. One of the stories behind them is we never planted them. They were in the original garden, and when our church went through reconstruction, that garden became the staging place for all the materials. So it was pretty much knocked down, lumber, boards, cement. It looked really bad. It was put back, but the peonies were gone. And for the first 2 years, there was nothing there. They came up on their own. And now, we started with 1, now we've got 2. And they're just beautiful plants. And again, it reminds me that sometimes we don't always see the people we love and care about, but they are close to us in many different ways. And for me, one of those ways is through the garden.
All right. Has the way that you have gardened or taken care of the earth, has that changed much in the past, say, 20 years with the changes in the environment and everything? I know that both of you are kind of long-term gardeners, and I just didn't know if that anything had adjusted during that time.
Well, I've realized I cannot grow good tomato. So I stopped even trying. Even if I have it in the pot in the full sun, I just can't grow good tomato. So, Dave, I hope you have better luck than I do. My gardening hasn't changed in response to the environment. I am seeing the birds coming in earlier, and the colors of the year seem to be more intense some years than others. But I think that as I get older, my response to nature becomes deeper and more spiritual. And I'm just, so I think it's changed in that way. I'm more present, and it's very hard for me to slow down, and being outdoors really helps me slow down and let go of everything else and to be there. And that is so important. I find it more and more important all the time.
And for me, I think probably the biggest change for me has been a lessening of the desire to have everything perfect. I used to be the kind of person that, you put the geranium in and you left a lot of space around it, and then you put another geranium and left a lot of space around it. And I've finally, a little bit, come to appreciate that nature is beautiful in its bounty and in its creativity, and in allowing us to mix flowers and to mix plants and to hopefully put the heavy pesticides aside, not to be used, because what we're killing is part of what keeps us alive. So I really am trying to change. Sometimes Wayne has to remind me that there's a new way of looking at gardening. But I think that's been the biggest change for me.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else that you want folks to hear about your spirituality and gardening, or if you could tell someone give a bit of wisdom to folks around this topic, what would it be?
Well, a couple of things. So I think it's the Talmud that says every blade of grass has an angel over it saying, grow, grow. And I think if we all could look at every blade of grass and thinking there's an angel for it, there's an angel for us too. So I think that's really important to remember. As we were outside today in the Opera House garden, I also wanted to share, to my knowledge, if you see on this corner, every church on these four corners has a lot. St. Luke's owned this lot, and it was set aside for our cemetery. And we didn't do that for a while, and then as I understand it, the village came to us and said, can we build an administrative building there? And so, to my eyes, the Opera House Park is a gift from St. Luke's to the community. So I think that's really important to know. And then the other thing is, I've been reading a lot of Native American spiritual kind of orientation books, and the reverence for the earth there and how they connect with the earth. And it's very powerful. And it just enhances my understanding of what God is, what nature is. It's all one. And I think you can find it in any faith and in any walk of life.
No wisdom here.
Well, wait a minute.
But I would like to say, again, as I look out at people, I think I have found a connection with many of you through our gardens. I love talking to people about their gardens, about hearing what they're doing. It's an important part of our life, I really believe, and it is the spiritual part of our life. It's the part that reminds us of the beauty of God and the blessings that He has given to all of us. So I thank you for sharing your gardens with Wayne and I. Some people are in apartments, but you know, I can't think of anybody I know who doesn't have a flower, a plant, something growing nearby and encouraging them. So thank you for that.
Great, thank you. I'm reminded of two things when you're talking about the peonies and how they were under all of that construction stuff, and then they came back. The resilience of beauty, the resilience of this community, it all is together. I'm also reminded of Mary Oliver saying, my job is to love creation. I think, is that how she said it? My job is to love the earth, one of the two. But both of you clearly have been called to not only tend what God's given us, but to teach us something about how to do that and how to connect, that all creation is a blessing. And you folks are tremendous blessings, so thank you so much. And we go forth remembering this, and later on, you'll be invited to take some blessed dirt back to your garden, but make sure they bless it too, okay? I want them to. All right, thank you folks so much.